Hey, what's going on, everyone? I am RMZ. Welcome to my channel. So, last night, President Trump posted a statement on his social media site regarding tariffs, and part of that included tariffs on pharmaceuticals, 100% tariffs to be exact. And I'm wondering if this puts an end to the most favored nation discussion around pharmaceuticals. There have been many and have been hyping this most favored nation element up, and in reality, it has no teeth. It's an executive order, and as I stated before, an executive order cannot make or change existing law. The way to go about this is through Congress, but we all know that Congress is inept, gridlocked, and purposely so. They are bought off by special interests and lobbying. So the only way to get this most favored nation executive order to happen is if the pharmaceutical companies fold to the pressure in the same fashion that we have seen Ivy League schools, apart from Harvard, and law firms, which blew my mind because these are law firms that are folding instead of fighting. So the only way that this would happen outside of a change in the law is if these pharmaceutical companies fold. And really, there has been no sign of them folding. And so far, we have not seen much movement, if any at all, on this most favored nation threat. So back to Trump's post from last night. Let's take a look at it. So he states, starting October 1st, 2025, we will be imposing 100% tariff on any branded or patented pharmaceutical product unless a company is building their pharmaceutical manufacturing plant in America. Is building here is defined as breaking ground and or under construction. There will therefore be no tariff on these pharmaceutical products if construction has started. Now, going back to the most favored nation, I think one of the levers was imposing tariff. Now, it remains to be seen if he has the legal authority to impose these tariffs. Two courts have already ruled that he doesn't, so it's going to have to go up to the Supreme Court to make a determination. And I'm not a lawyer, and but I don't see, based on the law that he's using, I don't see that he has the authority to issue these tariffs. But nevertheless, they are in place at the moment. So I was thinking that tariffs would be a lever for him to bully these pharmaceutical companies, and specifically in the GLP-1 space, Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, to lower their prices. This takes that off the table. That's it. In my opinion, this takes it off the table because these companies are already building manufacturing plants within the United States, and they started last year. A few of them have already have announced new sites this year, but over the last few years, they've been undergoing this process. All right, so let's take a look at these. Over the last few weeks, Eli Lilly has announced actually two locations before Trump's announcement came out, and some are trying to tie this to the most favored nation, and some are trying to tie this to his announcement last night. But these were announced before that. And there's also, I'm assuming that there's also some negotiation that's taking place with the states and localities. I'm assuming that these were in process of being announced for weeks, if not months, already in advance. So Eli Lilly has announced a $5 billion manufacturing facility in Virginia that was announced on September 16th. Just this week, they announced a 6.5 billion facility in the Houston area. So these were announced before his post from last night. But even at the beginning of the year, they announced a that they were going to commit $27 billion to manufacturing facilities here in the United States. This was on top of the 23 billion that they had announced back in 2020, bringing the total that they are committing to building out manufacturing facilities within the United States to $50 billion. So these things were already in the works. So they already have facilities where shovels were in the ground, and they're already in flight and building these facilities. So that automatically takes them out of the tariff threat. Now moving on to Novo Nordisk, another GLP-1 giant. They announced a facility in North Carolina last year at the cost of $4.1 billion to boost their production of Ozempic and Wegovy. So again, already in flight. I believe they have already broke ground on this facility. They're expecting this facility to be done sometime between 2027 and 2029. And moving on to other pharmaceutical companies that are in the pipeline for building manufacturing here within the United States. You have Merck, who is building a $1 billion facility in Delaware. And then you have AstraZeneca, who last year announced a facility being built in Maryland, Montgomery County, that is expected to be online in 2026. So another facility under construction already. So again, removes them from the tariffs. Keeping with AstraZeneca, in November of 2024, they announced new facilities in Massachusetts and in Maryland. Again, I believe these are expected to be online sometime in 2026, end of 2026. And then moving on to Johnson & Johnson, who last year announced a $2 billion facility being built in North Carolina. They expect that the construction, at the time, they expected the construction to begin sometime in 2025. So again, another one that's already construction. I think most, if not all, of these pharma companies have some kind of manufacturing facility in flight right now, which would remove them from the 100% tariff threat. So I don't expect to see any price increases based off of this tariff threat, but at the same time, don't expect to see any price decreases either from these manufacturing facilities being built or from the most favored nation, because again, it doesn't have any real teeth. It doesn't have the weight of the law behind it. An executive order can only direct the executive branch to move a certain way within existing laws. You cannot create or change existing laws. And there is no existing law that allows for the executive to do this most favored nation pricing. Again, for anything to happen, it has to come from Congress. I don't see it happening in Congress because Congress is so dysfunctional. Regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, it has been dysfunctional and will always be dysfunctional because it's legalized bribery with these, with the lobbying efforts from these corporations, regardless of what industry that it's in. They can legally purchase members of Congress on both sides of the aisle, and that just creates gridlock and ensures that nothing gets done to advantage the citizens of this country. That's my thought on this whole thing. I really think that this kind of deads the most favored nation attempts. I don't think there was any teeth behind it in the first place, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what comes. So let me know your thoughts. And if you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe. And engage with me in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts and your opinions. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.